This is what 40 kilometers per hour looks like. This is 50 kilometers per hour, this 60 kilometers per hour, and this is 70 kilometers per hour.
Today we'll go one by one through the reasons why you just can't seem to pass your next speed milestone, whether it's 40, 50, 60 or 70 kilometers per hour.
And we asked more than 2,000 windsurfers what personal best they're struggling to hit, so you know exactly where you stand by the end of this video.
This is not your standard tutorial on where to place your hand or your foot to squeeze a little bit more speed. We have a lot of them already and we will definitely bring you more in the future.
This is, however, an in-depth breakdown and analysis of why you are not progressing as fast as you would like to, why you're not yet reaching the next milestone, and if you will ever reach it.
A realistic one. No sugarcoating, I promise.
We need little successes along the way that we can celebrate and keep us motivated with.
Top speed is one of the most common goals in windsurfing. Whether it's to beat your body on the straight line or whether it's to hit the next milestone. Measuring your speed with GPS is just so straightforward. It's black and white because you have the numbers on paper or on your phone or on the watch, and you know what it is. There's nothing to discuss about.
But what if you seem to hit a wall? No matter what you do, it just doesn't get faster. It's like you're tied to an elastic band that holds you back. You run and you try as hard as you can, but you're not moving further than a certain point.
Well, first let me tell you, this is absolutely normal and you're not the only one. Everyone hits plateaus at different levels and different intensities. Just like with the example of an elastic band, in the beginning of your learning curve, we make faster progress. The plateaus are fewer and shorter. The more we advance, the more annoying they seem to become.
And of course, the more you advance, the smaller your incremental steps will be. When we speak about speed on the water, we should adjust our milestones accordingly. When I reach 30 kilometers per hour, my next milestone should be 40 kilometers per hour. However, when I reach 50 kilometers per hour, my next milestone should be more like 55 kilometers per hour. Again, this is simply a mental exercise to keep yourself motivated and your goals realistic. It's one of those things that sports can teach you about life.
As I said in the beginning, 50 or 60 kilometers per hour are those milestones that for many windsurfers just seem impossible. And obviously there are a number of possible reasons. So I would say let's go through them together to find out what blocks you from hitting your next speed milestone, and here's what we will be looking at.
Type of windsurfing, so the discipline, time investment, your personal barrier, equipment, and physique.
These are the first questions you have to ask yourself. Where are you in your windsurfing career and where do you want to go? Is speed really your goal?
If you're just coming from your first windsurfing course or are only into the sport for a short time, the options are wide open. When starting, you can go into wave riding, freestyling, windfalling, or perhaps your goal is simply to cruise around without any ambition. From my experience working with windsurfers around the world from any level, some sort of ambition will come in time. If the ambition is speed, you will progress from beginner gear to freeride gear to free racing gear and perhaps eventually to racing gear. If you're a fast learner, you might skip a step in between.
Okay, maybe going fast is just a side quest for you. Normally you prefer to play in the waves or just cruise around hassle-free. In that case, your determination to hit higher speeds will obviously be less and you will progress slower. You won't be very motivated to upgrade to faster equipment. If you're progressing from free waving or wave sailing to the faster side of windsurfing, you probably progress straight to a slalom board. But whatever gear you're on, it should never hold you back from achieving your next milestone. But even when on a beginner board or on a wave board blasting down the swell, you can keep improving your speed technique. More about that later in the equipment section. By the way, if you want to see me trying to go fast on beginner equipment, I highly recommend this video from Bonaire, where I tried to beat my cameraman Lars on beginner and freeride gear.
But the more skilled you are and the more you're getting out of your circumstances, whether it's the spot's conditions, gusty wind, big waves or slow equipment, the slower your progress will become. And at some point it will limit your progress.
Let's say you do want to get faster, apart from what your spot looks like and what gear you're riding.
Just ask yourself, how much time am I putting into achieving that next milestone? Are my expectations realistic?
Personally, realistic expectations are one of my best personal motivators. I hate to be behind my expectations, but when I assess the situation right, I can't disappoint myself.
If you only get to train on the water 2 times per year on a vacation, most of the time you're busy with getting back to your level from the last vacation. And if you're lucky, you'll have a few days to build on that and improve your personal best. But what if on those exact days the conditions are not great for top speeds?
So now you feel demotivated because hitting the next milestone was simply not realistic in the first place? Or you've just been unlucky with the conditions.
But once your next milestone becomes 50 or 60 kilometers, in most cases the time invest needs to be higher. And your gaps without windsurfing should become shorter.
And you don't need to live at a windy spot to improve. You just need to stay connected to your windsurf gear as much as possible. But how do you invest your time best?
Of course, nothing beats time on the water to improve your skills. Repetition is the best way to practice and improve your technique. But also analyzing plays a crucial role.
So in my windsurfing experiences, video analysis is the #1 contributing factor to improvement. Seeing what your stance is and ideally having someone who knows give you the right pointers is just priceless. So please allow me a bit of advertising for my experiences where we already made a lot of people hit their next milestones.
61.27. Your first time over 60?
Yes.
Sick, congrats, man.
And of course have an unforgettable windsurfing trip. If you ever want to join, I'll leave you a link down below where you can stay up to date.
So try to compare your technique to the better riders, watch tutorials and have a clear idea of what you want to practice on the water.
Especially when you can't sail that often, it's crucial to use your off-water time smartly. Between a well-trimmed and not so well-trimmed sail, you can easily find 10 kilometers per hour. So when working towards your milestone, that extra half an hour that you come early to the spot or the time you invest between the sessions when the wind drops is definitely time well spent.
But ask yourself, are you investing enough time into improving your equipment and technique? If the answer is yes, perhaps the reason you're not hitting the next milestone is your personal barrier.
So let's assume you have your discipline and time investment figured out. You spend the time on the water, but when the gust that should take you to your next milestone hits, you just can't commit to sheeting in. Let's say it how it is, you know more or less what to do, but you're simply scared. It's nothing to feel bad about because we've all been there. Different people have that barrier at different points, but we all have it. And we have it for a good reason. It's an instinct that is supposed to keep us from risking our life. It's sort of a natural instinct. So the thing is, your body reacts before your conscious brain does. You start sheeting in, the board lifts and your senses get overloaded. Wind noise, spray, the board hitting the chop faster, and your body, your instinct says, abort mission. And you might not even notice it, but you automatically open the sail a little bit or release some pressure from the fin. And those little micro hesitations is where your barrier starts. So how do we break this cycle? The goal isn't to get rid of the fear, it's to retrain it.
You have to teach your brain that this new speed is still safe, that you're still in control. And of course, by going 1 or 2 kilometers per hour over your comfort zone, you reset your comfort zone. It's like learning to jump higher or jibe in more wind. You don't force it, you stretch your comfort zone gradually, and you learn that those new higher speeds are actually not that scary and that you can control them. And this happens at every level, starting from your first steps on the board all the way up to what I do, which is windsurfing in rough conditions or competitions with dangerous situations.
So yes, fear is real and that's okay because it means you're on the edge of your limits. But progress only happens on that exact edge. Every time you push through that little voice that says, maybe not this time, you move that barrier a tiny bit further out. Now we come to the point that is the easiest to use as an excuse if things don't move forward. Luckily, there's an easy way to avoid blaming the equipment. As you might know, I have partners like Prien and JP Australia, with which gear you can make sure that equipment is not the issue. But also, there's a huge variety of equipment and it's hard to find the right match. So if you're unsure what is the right next step or you just want to upgrade your gear, you can simply reach out to us at SURFCENTER. We will be giving you custom advice via WhatsApp, email, phone or in person if you want to come by and help you find the right setup from second hand to the latest and the best, basically for every wallet, and we also ship everywhere.
And lastly, you might have seen that I developed my own fins, NP7 fins. Turns out producing good quality high-end fins needs a little bit more time, so we delivered all the first orders and we have some super happy customers, but we still don't have any stock.
But eventually it's gonna come back, and we're also working on a couple of different models, cheaper ones as well. I would love for you guys to not miss that. That's why we have an NP7 WhatsApp group. I hope you won't abuse it. My personal number's in there. I will link it down below. Feel free to join us if you want to stay updated. And now back to the equipment.
In the beginning, we already spoke about the equipment for different disciplines. There may be a point where you come close to what your equipment allows.
I know you guys always want some exact examples and numbers, but it all depends so much on a lot of variables like specific board and sail, conditions, weight. But anyways, I have some examples for you.
On pure wave equipment with a thruster or quad setup, if you can hit 55 km per hour, you have a really good top speed. As soon as you put a longer single fin in, you'll get closer to 60 km per hour. With a pure freeride setup, around 120 liters and a 7 square meter sail, you're a very fast sailor when you reach 65 km per hour. Once you're on the free race board with a free race sail or even race sail, you can reach speeds of 70 km per hour.
All those are rough numbers, and as I said before, can vary depending on different factors. And of course, also dependent on being well powered up and having a decent flat water spot. As soon as chop comes in, the possible top speeds can decrease heavily by easily 5 km per hour or even more in heavy chop. So you gotta be realistic about what you can achieve with your given gear. A performance fin is indeed an easy speed upgrade in a freeride, free race or even race board, and cheaper than a new board or a sail.
For boards and sails, we've already made in-depth comparisons between freeride, free race and race equipment, and more of those are coming. We'll link the previous ones below.
Okay, so every upgrade will take some adjusting and getting used to, but then get you a few extra kilometers per hour. So the choice of equipment is another super important factor to consider. You need a setup that takes you to the edge of where you can still comfortably push the fin and get the board kind of freely gliding over the water. So now it's going to get a little bit technical.
How free you can get the board is of course relative to your level. From other technique videos, we know that we want the least resistance possible in the water, so we want to reduce the wetted surface area by pushing the board on the right angle. Step 2 is to keep the pressure on the fin strong and steady. I see a lot of videos of people railing the board super nicely and it looks like they're going extremely fast, but in reality they barely manage to surpass 60 or 70 km per hour. This happens when you just focus on railing the board but are not applying enough pressure to the fin. So you need enough power in your equipment to rail the board steadily, but not so much that it makes you release pressure from the fin when the gust hits.
So a lot of pressure on the fin is exactly what makes you move forward. If you need to release pressure from the fin to keep the board kind of steadily on the rail, your equipment probably has too much power. Sail size, board size and fin size all relate to each other.
We already summarized that equation in another video about fin sizes, which I will link for you down below.
Now, there's another way to get more pressure on your fin, and it's your physique.
If you're in the windsurfing scene for a while, you've heard the phrase, fat is fast before. And that is of course true to some extent. When you're lighter, of course you have an advantage to get planing. So overall it's probably not too good to be fat. It's also important how the weight is distributed. And when the wind gets strong, of course heavy weight helps you to apply more pressure to the fin and control your gear better.
Sometimes a bit less weight can be an advantage to switch to smaller gear faster, which can be an advantage compared to your friends on the water. However, purely looking at GPS, when it's windy enough for your weight and for your gear setup, more weight will get you to more speed.
That's why speed sailors wear weight vests, which for safety and health reasons I don't recommend to you, unless of course you're going for the world record.
So your weight could be a very limiting factor in your speed. I know several examples of very good windsurfers who have great technique and good equipment and are pretty much within the last few % of potential of what their weight allows. Now, it seems a bit unfair, but I told you at the beginning that we will be realistic.
Working on the beer belly will certainly help, at least as long you stay mobile, but it will harm you a lot in the jibes and early planing. Putting on some muscle weight will be much more effective, because with a high body tension you can improve your performance in light wind while also improving your speed potential. So basically your wind range will become better.
So hypertrophy and core muscle training is what I find the most effective to work on your speed potential in the long term. And of course it comes with a few other benefits in your non-windsurfing life. There you have it, a full breakdown of what could be the reason of why you are struggling to hit the next milestone. In the coming videos we will also go deeper into gear and technique. If you found this useful, don't forget to subscribe to this channel completely for free to not miss any of our upcoming videos, windsurfing trips, tutorials, competitions and much more. Please do check the links for my windsurfing experiences and fins down below. And before we finish, do you remember that in the beginning of the video I told you we conducted a poll among windsurfers?
Over 2,000 windsurfers on my Instagram profile showed that 16% of people struggle to hit 40 km per hour or less. 30% have 50 km per hour as their next milestone. 33% are working on hitting the 60 km per hour mark, and only 21% are already working on 70 km per hour and more.
And that equals to about 43 freedoms per eagle. Can we put this in the video like this, or will the US guys get upset? I think the guys can take the joke, right? Hope to come back there for a clinic soon.